I'm on break, but I want to read some Frankenstein. I was so excited. You're so lucky. If you've been paying attention, you're pretty lucky because I was not planning on recording Frankenstein, the rest of it. I really wanted to read it by myself because I'm working, and when I'm working I like to read. It's such a slow story, so I just read in there. And I knew I was gonna finish Frankenstein, but that's the thing, I knew I was gonna finish Frankenstein and I wouldn't have had my reaction. I'm worried. I feel like it might be anticlimactic. The reason why I think the story is going to be anticlimactic is because it's an 1818 story, and I've never read anything as old as Dante. I wouldn't say Dante was anticlimactic, to be honest. Neither is the Bible, but people would argue the Bible is real. Whatever. I think it's real. I think a man split the ocean in two. Literally. Anyway, what I'm saying is, I didn't want to read Frankenstein without your reaction. And now, I got about 20 minutes left. So I'm just going to read it. I don't know how far I'll get in 20 minutes. Probably, I don't know, maybe a couple pages. As you can see, I'm almost done with the story. Chapter 22. There should only be 24 chapters. So in the meantime, while I was waiting for me to go live again, I decided to pick up this book, Myths of Mesopotamia. It's about the creation story, the flood myth, and the Tale of Gilgamesh, right? Or Gilgamesh, I don't know. I think it's called the Tale of Gilgamesh. I will be live streaming this. I will not be starting it over. How far did I get? I already finished the first myth of Atrahasis. I don't know how to pronounce Atrahasis. There you go. I already finished it. It was interesting. It was a myth about the flood myth, actually. Apparently, some people think that you could trace back the name Atrahasis, and it'll translate to Noah, which is interesting because they both have flood myths. Anyway, hopefully I can do a live reading of this, because the story I'm actually on is Gilgamesh. I haven't read it. I'm very excited. Yeah, I don't know. I'm very excited. But that's not why we're here. We're here because we want to read, or I want to read, Frankenstein. So, let's begin. Chapter 22, baby. The voyage came to an end. We landed and proceeded to Paris. I soon found that I had overtaxed my strength and that I must repose before I could continue my journey. My father's care and attentions were indefatigable, but he did not know the origin of my sufferings and sought erroneous methods to remedy the incurable ill. He wished me to seek amusement in society. Is this where I am? Let me see. I'm gonna go back a little bit. But sleep did not afford me respite of thought of misery. My dreams presented 1,000 objects that scared me. Okay, I did read that. Okay, let's continue. Um, he wished me to seek amusement in society. I abhorred the face of man. Oh, not abhorred. They were my brethren, my fellow beings, and I felt attracted even to the most repulsive among them, as to creatures of an angelic nature and celestial mechanism. But I felt that I had no right to share their intercourse. I had unchained an enemy among them whose joy it was to shed their blood and to revel in their groans. This is spoilers for Frankenstein. If you don't want spoilers, I suggest you leave. How they would, each and all, abhor me and hunt me from the world did they know my unhallowed acts and the crimes which had their source in me. My father yielded at length to my desire to avoid society and strove by various arguments to banish my despair. Sometimes he thought that I felt deeply the degradation of being obliged to answer a charge of murder, and he endeavored to prove to me the futility of pride. Alas, my father, said I, how little do you know me? Human beings, their feelings and passions, would indeed be degraded if such a wretch as I felt pride. Justine, poor unhappy Justine. She was as innocent as I, and she suffered the same charge. She died for it, and I am the cause of this. I murdered her. William, Justine, and Henry, they all died by my hands. Whew, that's intense. I think he should chill out. He didn't make the monster out of malintent. He made the monster just to further science. You know what I mean? He did it for the love and passion of science. It's not his fault. Spoiler, it's not Victor Frankenstein's fault that the monster he created started killing people. I wouldn't say it's his fault. I mean, he has a mind of it. The monster had a mind of its own, and the monster lived a sad life, and well, that sucked, but there was nothing they could do. Yeah. So, I'm trying to remember what happened before this chapter, but I think for some reason they released Frankenstein from prison, and I don't really know why. I think they said they had evidence that he didn't kill Henry, so they released him. But anyway, what I'm saying is Frankenstein shouldn't blame himself for this fucking guy's murder that the monster killed. I mean, it's ridiculous. My father had often, during my imprisonment, heard me make the same assertion when I thus accused myself. He sometimes seemed to desire an explanation, and at others he appeared to consider it as the offspring of delirium, and that, during my illness, some idea of this kind had presented itself to my imagination, the remembrance of which I preserved in my convalescence. Convalescence? What is convalescence? I don't know what word. Does anyone know what convalescence means? I don't know what that means. Alright, I'm gonna search it up now. I'll be back. I'm gonna find out what that word means. I don't know what that means. Alright, I'm gonna search it up now. I'll be back. I'm gonna find out what that word means. I had a feeling it meant recovering from an illness. So, hey, I had a feeling, all right? I was right. I avoided explanation and maintained a continual silence concerning the wretch I had created. I had a persuasion that I should be supposed mad, and this in itself would forever have chained my tongue. But besides, I could not bring myself to disclose a secret which would fill my hearer with consternation and make fear and unnatural horror the inmates of his breast. I checked, therefore, my impatient thirst for sympathy and was silent. when I would have given the world to have confided the fatal secret. Yet still, words like those I have recorded would burst uncontrollably from me. I could offer no explanation of them, but their truth in part relieved the burden of my mysterious woe. Upon this occasion, my father said with an expression of unbounded wonder, "My dearest Victor, what infatuation is this? My dear son, I entreat you never to make such an assertion again." "I am not mad," I cried energetically. "The sun in the heavens, who have viewed my operations, can bear witness of my truth. I am the assassin of those most innocent victims. They died by my machinations, or machinations, I don't know. 1,000 times would I have shed my own blood, drop by drop, to have saved their lives, but I could not, my father. Indeed, I could not sacrifice the whole human race." Frankenstein felt like if he let the monster go, and he was gonna make the monster a girlfriend. He was in the middle of making the monster a girlfriend, and then he was worried that the whole human race could be attacked, because what if the girl monster and the guy monster mated and had little baby monsters, and then a whole race of monsters appeared? He was worried that the monsters would go and kill the human race. That's pretty intense. Imagine a bunch of Frankenstein monsters warring with humans. Wow, that's a good story. Let's move on. The conclusion of this speech convinced my father that my ideas were deranged, and he instantly changed the subject of our conversation and endeavored to alter the course of my thoughts. He wished as much as possible to obliterate the memory of the scenes that had taken place in Ireland, and never alluded to them or suffered me to speak of my misfortunes. As time passed away, I became more calm. Misery had her dwelling in my heart, but I no longer talked in the same innocent manner of my own crimes. Sufficient for me was the consciousness of them. By the utmost self-violence, I curbed the imperious voice of wretchedness, which sometimes desired to declare itself to the whole world, and my manners were calmer and more composed than they had ever been since my journey to the Sea of Ice. A few days before we left Paris, on our way to Switzerland, I received the following letter from Elizabeth. Elizabeth sent us a letter. How exciting. Oh God, it's gonna be disgusting. It's gonna be a disgusting letter. No, I'm kidding. They like each other. It's kind of gross. They're not related, but it's kind of gross. So let's read the letter. My dear friend. Oh, she friend zoned it. Frankenstein was friend zoned. It gave me the greatest pleasure to receive a letter from my uncle dated at Paris. You are no longer at a formidable distance, and I may hope to see you in less than a fortnight. My poor cousin, how much you must have suffered. I expect to see you looking even more ill than when you quitted Geneva. This winter has been passed most miserably, tortured as I have been by anxious suspense. Yet I hope to see peace in your countenance, and to find that your heart is not totally void of comfort and tranquility. Yet I fear that the same feelings now exist that made you so miserable a year ago, even perhaps augmented by time. I would not disturb you at this period, when so many misfortunes weigh upon you, but a conversation that I had with my uncle previous to his departure renders some explanation necessary before we meet. Explanation. You may possibly say, what can Elizabeth have to explain? That was funny. If you really say this, my questions are answered and all my doubts satisfied. But you are distant from me, and it is possible that you may dread, and yet be pleased with this explanation. And in the probability of this being the case, I dare not any longer postpone writing that, during your absence, I have often wished to express to you, but have never had the courage to begin. Woo! She's gonna tell him, I like you. She's gonna be like, I like your smart scientist German dick. That's what Elizabeth is about to say. You well know, Victor, that our union had been the favorite plan of our parents ever since our infancy. We were told this when young and taught to look forward to it as an event that would certainly take place. We were affectionate playfellows during childhood, and I believe dear and valued friends to one another as we grew older. But as brother and sister, often entertain a lively affection towards each other without desiring a more intimate union. May not such also be our case? Tell me, dearest Victor, answer me. I conjure you, by our mutual happiness, with simple truth. Do you not love another? You have traveled. You have spent several years of your life at Ingolstadt, and I confess to you, my friend, that when I saw you last autumn, so unhappy, flying to solitude from the society of every creature, I could not help supposing that you might regret our connection and believe yourself bound in honor to fulfill the wishes of your parents, although they oppose themselves to your inclinations. But this is false reasoning. I confess to you, my friend, that I love you, and that in my airy dreams of futurity, you have been my constant friend and companion. Aww, that's cute. But it is your happiness I desire as well as my own when I declare to you that our marriage would render me eternally miserable unless it were the dictate of your own free choice. Even now, I weep. I lost my point. To think that, borne down as you are by the cruelest misfortunes, you may stifle, by the word honor, all hope of that love and happiness which would alone restore you to yourself. I, who have so disinterested in affection for you. Disinterested in affection? What? What does that mean? Like, okay. She was like pretending she didn't like him or something? May increase your miseries tenfold by being an obstacle to your wishes. Ah, Victor, be assured that your cousin and playmate has too sincere a love for you not to be made miserable by this supposition. Supposition. Supposition is a word, Be happy, my friend, and if you obey me in this one request, remain satisfied that nothing on earth will have the power to interrupt my tranquility. Do not let this letter disturb you. Do not answer tomorrow or the next day or even until you come, if it will give you pain. My uncle will send me news of your health, and if I see but one smile on your lips when we meet, occasioned by this or any other exertion of mine, I shall need no other happiness. Or any other exertion of mine, I shall need no other happiness. Elizabeth Lavenza, Geneva, May 18th. 17? Whatever. 17 something. They never tell you what year it is. They always say 17, and they never tell you anything else. It's just somewhere in the 1700s. The letter's over. We're gonna go read or Frankenstein's perspective now. I have about 11 minutes. Daily ranking. Start flash goal. Daily ranking. Start flash goal. Pin. I don't know. I don't know what are these emoji flash goals things. I don't know what they are. What is this? 100 plus creators live off. I don't know what that is. This letter revived in my memory that I had before forgotten. The threat of the fiend. I will be with you on your wedding night. Such was my sentence. And on that night would the demon employ every art to destroy me and tear me from the glimpse of happiness which promised partly to console my sufferings. On that night he had determined to consummate his crimes by my death. Well, be it so. A deadly struggle would then assuredly take place, in which if he were victorious, I should be at peace, and his power over me be at an end. If he were vanquished, I should be a free man, Alas, what freedom! Such as the peasant enjoys when his family have been massacred before his eyes, his cottage burnt, his lands laid waste, and he is turned adrift, homeless, penniless, and alone, but free. Such would be my liberty, except that in my Elizabeth I possessed a treasure, alas, balanced by those horrors of remorse and guilt which would pursue me until death. Sweet and beloved Elizabeth. Shut your ass up, bro. Sweet and beloved Elizabeth. I read and reread her letter, and I can't reread that letter. And some softened feeling stole into my heart and dared to whisper paradisiacal dreams of love and joy. But the apple was already eaten, and the angel's arm bare to drive me from all hope. I'm gonna go look up that word right now. I've never once heard of that word in my life. Oh look, that fool looked like Stephen King. He looked cool. I just saw him. He looked like Stephen King. That was funny. All right, let's go. I'll be back. I'm gonna go look up what this fucking word means. That was funny. All right, let's go. I'll be back. I'm gonna go look up what this fucking word means. Paradis. Paradis. It's pronounced paradis. Let me find it. It's pronounced. What a weird word. Paradisiacal. It means heavenly dreams of love, I guess. Okay. Weird. Yet I would die to make her happy. If the monster executed his threat, death was inevitable. Yet again, I considered whether my marriage would hasten my fate. My destruction might indeed arrive a few months sooner, but if my torturer should suspect that I postponed it, influenced by his menaces, he would surely find other and perhaps more dreadful means of revenge. He had vowed to be with me on my wedding night, yet he did not consider that threat as binding him to peace in the meantime, for as if to show me that he was not yet satisfied,